everybody, welcome back to Wigs Gaming. We are back once again talking about the worst Pokemon of every generation. Today we are going over the worst Ice-type Pokemon of every generation. So if you are excited, please be sure to hit a like at the bottom of the video. Let me know as well in the comments who your least favorite Ice-type is. And without further ado, let's talk about the worst Ice-types from every generation, starting with Generation 1. Now I do want to let you guys know as well that I'm going to be putting these out every single day, so please do not forget to hit that subscribe button. Now let's get started with Generation 1 Ice types, and I think the answer is quite simple, quite easy. First of all, Lapras is not an Ice type, is it? Is Lapras really part Ice? I had no idea that Lapras was part Ice. But regardless, I think we all know it's Dugong. Dugong is one of the easier Ice types to get in the game. Jinx is kind of behind a lot of things and hard to get. And again, I thought Lapras wasn't an Ice type, so I'm not counting it. And Shelter takes forever to evolve, and I think you even need to fish or something for it. And obviously Articuno's at the end of the game. Dugong just doesn't get very good moves, and its attack is not very high. It's a little bit bulky, but it gets a lot of weaknesses because it's water in Ice and not just Ice. So I have to give it to Dugong. But generally, most Ice types in Pokemon games are near the end of the game. And so generally they're a little bit stronger than others. So I do think this is going to be a pretty difficult list compared to the starter types that I did before. Let's see what happens. But I have to go with Dugong. Now Generation 2, this is another obvious answer. As much as everybody loves this thing because of the concept of it, the answer is obviously Delibird. I really don't think there's anything that Delibird could do to improve its appeal, other than to go in and hack your game and up its stats. It can get some cool TMs, but it's just never going to be powerful enough to stand up to anything, unfortunately. So he just has to be there. And again, I love the design and the concept of Delibird. It's not designed for you to use it. It's designed for you to have fun. And I want Pokemon to continue to make things like that. Not every Pokemon has to be strong. Sometimes they can just look aesthetically nice. But in this case, Delibird obviously still is the weakest and worst Ice type in all of Generation 2. Now, Generation 3. There are some pretty good Ice types in Generation 3. And for the same reason why I talked about Dugong, I'm going to talk about Spheal. I like the Spheal evolutionary line, but I think Snorunt and Glalie are better, and I think they're designed better as well. At the end of the day, because it's water and ice is really what turns me away, and I'm not going to count Ice Cast form in this case. So I had to go with Spheal. Some great Ice types in Generation 3. I think what I'm noticing, and there's a lot of good Ice types everywhere, Delibird being the odd man out, but there's a lot of solid Ice types in a lot of these games. Now, Generation 4 here. Another solid list. The answer is obviously, in this case, has to be Snover. The fact that it's an Ice and Grass type is really my problem. I like the concept of Abomasnow, but it's just too weak to too many things, and it doesn't get thick fat, which is kind of its issue. And if it did, maybe attacks would not hurt all that bad. So it has to be that. Not to mention, they added Glaceon, they added Mamoswine, they added Weavile, they added Frostlass. This is the only original Ice type outside of the Rotom Fridge. So this is what we had to go with. But it's definitely another tough call with a lot of good Ice types. Now, Gen 5, I think, is where Ice types start to get worse. Oh, yeah, they do. Yes, they do. And this is an obvious answer. Cryogonal, why do you exist? What on earth made Game Freak, Nintendo, and the Pokemon Company think, oh, it's snowing, let's give it eyes and tears and make a joke about it and call it a Cryogonal? And it's going to be an Ice type? And it's nightmare fuel. It's nightmare fuel. Its statistics suck too. I mean, it's not a very good Pokemon, but it's also just straight nightmare fuel. And I wish it didn't exist. I really do. I really wish it didn't exist. I don't know what else to say about this thing other than it's probably a Pokemon I'm never going to use unless I'm forced to. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the fact that Cryogonal is never going to be Pokemon Showdown or VGC or whatever meta. Like, I don't think this thing is OU. You know what? I'm gonna check one of these days, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I do not think this thing is even OU. Can't be. Cannot possibly be. Cannot possibly be. Let's go Gen 6. Wow. I'm going to have to go with the fossil, the ice fossil. It was cool to have a fossil Pokemon be an ice type, and I liked how both of the fossil Pokemon were dinosaurs. I thought that was a really cool idea for Gen 6. The problem is you gave a rock ice type and put that into a game. Quad weak to steel, quad weak to fighting. It's just not really going to work very well. I think it's called Aurorus, or this one's Aurorus and this one's something else. I forgot the name, but that is by far the worst ice type in Generation 6, no question. Now, Generation 7, I know, didn't have a lot of ice types because it was Alola. So they had some Alolan forms, and then they had Crabominable. Crabominable, in my personal opinion, is one of the coolest designs for a Pokemon they've ever created, and it's really good. I love Crabominable. Alolan Vulpix and Ninetales are really cool, so I think the answer has to be Alolan Sandshrew. Sandshrew and Sandslash, in their normal forms, are not the strongest ground types in the world. They don't get a whole lot. And so, with Vulpix and Ninetales just being better Pokemon, it has to be Sandshrew. But it makes sense that there were not a lot of ice types in a tropical area. Now let's go Generation 8. And we have a lot of options. A lot of options. Obviously, we have some different forms, but I'm not going to count those. I think the answer is quite simply Aceque. Another Pokemon that I really like the design, but what is this thing for? What do you do with this thing? Where did someone think, let's put an ice cube on top of a penguin's head? He somehow is breathing and not suffocating, and let's make his face show through it and his beak pop out. Would you want to be an Aceque? Would that be something that you would want to be? I would never in my life even imagine wanting to be an Aceque. I mean, what a horrendous life this guy must be part of. I feel bad. Like, this guy is having a horrible life right now being an Aceque. Horrible. Horrible. Let's go Gen 9 here. Now, Gen 9 has some good options. I forgot these things, but they were awesome. Iron Bundle is awesome. The pseudo-legendary and then the legendary. I'm sorry I forgot their names. It takes me a couple years. Wow. What do I even do? What do I pick? These are all so good. They're all so good. Oh my gosh, I love all of them. It has to be this guy then. This thing evolves eventually into Frigibax, right? It has to be the Froggy Dude. This thing literally is Froakie and Krogunk had a baby. And then this thing pops up. It's obviously weak statistically. It does obviously evolve into something super strong, but there's a lot of good ice types in Gen 9, man. This is the one I had to go with. It is. Now, the absolute worst ice type. Let's talk about them. Obviously, Dugong, Delibird, Spheal, Snover, Cryogonal, Aurora, Alolan Sandshrew, Aceque, and did it just show me? No, I thought it was going to show me its name. And this little froggy dude. The answer is quite simply going to be Delibird. I don't like Cryogonal. I certainly don't like Dugong. Delibird is just the weakest. It just makes sense. And again, I love the design of Delibird so much, but it just isn't anything else. And Pokemon doesn't really go for fun designs and weak Pokemon anymore like they used to. And it's kind of sad. I think it would bring a lot more character back into the game if you make a weak Pokemon with a fun design. And people would love that Pokemon so much, they'd probably still use it. And I think that would be fun to watch people in competitive battles actually even try to use something like this and actually succeed. So I would really enjoy seeing something like that, and I wish they would do that. So anyway, those are the worst ice types of every Pokemon generation. Be sure to subscribe if you have not done so already. We'll do fighting next, and I don't want you to miss it. Thanks for watching.